Let's start the show. Hello and welcome to another edition of Cat Calls. I am Cat Bine, and this is my show, Cat Calls, which I host every Thursday on twitch.tv/catbine, where I talk to really cool artists about whatever the hell I want. And you watching right now, you're part of the show. It's interactive. So when you come to the show and you bring your questions, I make sure that the artist gets the questions, and I can't do this without you. So thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're not tuning in live and you're watching this on YouTube later, what is your excuse? You need to come on by next time, get in the club, be in the house. It's much more fun that way. It's even more fun that today's guest is one of my favorite artists. He's also one of my favorite internet pals these days, I guess. It's fair to say that. I think we're friends. His name is Pusher. Woo! Yay, Pusher! I first discovered Pusher in 2014 when actually I was listening to this Soundcloud mix from a Japanese DJ that was amazing. It was called like Waka Waka Monster Panic. I should definitely send that in a link in an email to subscribers. It's still like one of the best mixes ever. Anyways, in that mix, I heard his song Islands, Waves, Caves, and Skies, and I was like, what the fuck is this? This song is living up to all of my video game fantasies. I have to find out more about this artist Pusher and follow them for the rest of their life like a stalker. No, but I did follow Pusher on SoundCloud, and I've been watching through the years as Pusher has evolved as an artist. I mean, we were just listening to some of those original tracks now before the intro, and they definitely were tapping into like a sound that Wave Racer was really popular for at the time. And his sound has evolved quite far from there. In 2016, he released an EP called New Laces, which had the best opening track ever. It's called Startup, and it's actually only available on SoundCloud, not the Spotify version, because it's just nothing but amazing samples of things beginning or opening, from Windows 95 to Captain Planet, Pokemon Daria, Seinfeld bass is in there. It's truly like, it's like ASMR for nerds. But that EP, as well as the 2018 follow-up Paperboy, really leaned more into like a pop-centric sound, but it's with this upcoming album, which it's really only dawning on me now is probably his debut album, which is pretty cool. This forthcoming album is really where he finds his unique voice as an artist, and I have been blessed with some of the tracks before they're out, and I just can't stop listening to them. They're so good. It's like really great experimental pop music, electronic synth, Prince-esque stuff mixed with lyrics about climate change and how sad it is that you're 30-something and you haven't bought a house yet, and that you're addicted to your phone, and all these things that are really relatable and that people don't talk about enough in music. It's like everyone wants to write songs about love and heartbreak, and I understand that, but there's so much more to the human experience than just that sort of shallow stuff. So I'm so excited for Pusher's album. It's called Stay-At-Home Popstar, to come out later this year, and it's easily going to be my favorite album of the year. I don't even know what else is supposed to come out. It's supposed to be better than this album. That's just me personally, but I'm so excited to have Pusher on this episode of Cat Calls. So, because he's here, obviously, Pusher's here, hello. I'm going to go ahead and play for you the first single off of that album, which is already up on DSPs. It's called I Could Give It Up. It is about the phone addiction that I mentioned. It's got this really fun animated lyric video that we'll definitely chat about as well on the show. And then when we come back, I will have Pusher on the program. So get questions, get excited, if you're on your phone, just forget about the fact that you shouldn't be on it and you should like disconnect to reconnect and just like stay here on the program. But then after the show, you can like let the lyrics of the song really mean something to you. All right, I Could Give It Up.
I was just on my phone, not addicted to the scroll. I'm just being normal. I can give it up, I can give it up.
And we're back. Hello, Pusher. It's Pusher.
Hey. It sure is.
It sure is. Thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I got to the post office and returned some Amazon stuff today. Things are good.
Oh my!
Things are good.
Is it weird that to hear you even say that, I feel like I'm that's like a lyric of a song that hasn't been released yet on this album. Just woke up, brushed my teeth, returned something to Amazon. Like, I don't know. It wasn't as good as you would have done it, but
yeah, it was for a TikTok.
Francis Sun.
I'm making a sample pack.
Francis Sun Photo says that song was awesome, and I absolutely agree. Congratulations on I Could Give It Up and your big first single release for what is apparently your debut album. This is huge.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much. And I should say right off the top, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so happy to be here. I cannot wait to talk to you for an extended period of time, finally in person.
I know, me too. You're breaking up on me, though?
You see me?
Yes. You are good now. Mercury's not even in retrograde anymore. I don't know why this is happening to me. But I'm so excited to talk to you for an extended period of time, face-to-face as well, as long as no other hiccups happen, because we have become friends on the internet over the last couple of years, and I've never had the chance to interview you properly, although I've wanted to for sure. So this is very exciting for me.
This is our moment.
This is our time. It's our time down here. Up there, it's their time. It's a Goonies reference.
I actually haven't seen the Goonies.
You haven't seen the Goonies?
No, I'm trying to catch up on all the like old horror movies and creature features and stuff, but the Goonies has not been on the list yet. I just watched Tremors a little while ago, so I'm like working my way to Goonies.
Tremors is a good one. I feel like you will particularly love Goonies, especially with, I feel that you and this Stay-At-Home Popstar album have a similar sort of 90s nostalgia vibe to what I try to channel on this stream. So I think Goonies will be right up your alley. It's got Corey Feldman in it, like both Coreys.
Are there puppets involved?
Oh, not in this one. Although I do love
really?
a good puppet / Muppet scenario. Anything Frank Oz was involved in.
It's all like built up and everything, and then you finally see the monster, and it's like
yeah, the monster.
Some ridiculous puppet.
The monster in the Goonies, not to spoil anything for you, is really just humanity.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
You will enjoy it.
Every good creature feature should be about that.
Exactly. We are the monster the whole time.
Yeah, fully agree.
Okay.
I watched a horror movie a little while ago called, I think it was called Backwoods, and it was like, I think it's a Canadian movie. And it's this couple, and they go out into like Algonquin Park or something camping, and the guy plans to propose, and he's like all gung-ho, and like everything has to be the way that he wants, and he like doesn't want to bring in her phone stuff. And the whole time you're watching it, it's like, this is kind of a whatever kind of movie. They get stalked by a bear, and the bear ends up, I'm not going to spoil anything, but they get stalked by a bear, and it's not a good situation for them. But then about 3/4 of the way through, it's like, wait a second, the villain isn't the bear. The villain is toxic masculinity.
I love that.
It's so good because it's like, wait a second, why is every guy in this movie like way over the top ridiculous and like trying to take charge and do like alpha male and everything? And they get stalked by this bear, and they don't have a phone because he like,
of course,
wanted to bring no phones, and like took her phone out of her bag and left it in the car and stuff. And it was like,
what a dick.
It was like, yeah, exactly. And it was like, wait a second, the villain is toxic masculinity. This is actually so good. There's like a Starship Troopers moment where it's like, wait, something's happening here. What is this?
Yes, dude, another great one. Starship Troopers is incredible. Just the way that they have all those, but wait, check this out, or those strange sort of like ads placed between everything. Yeah. Which, man, I wish your whole album was out because I would love to chat with you about like each track, and there's a whole advertising one that is amazing, but we'll just have to chat again sometime when your album's out.
Maybe I'll start a podcast and you'll be the only guest on it.
That sounds great. I love that. A one-time podcast. Yeah, why not?
One-time podcast.
That's what it's called. I, though, would like to kind of learn more about you in general. And, you know, I discovered you during that really early time in your life as Pusher, but it sounded like you have been involved in music much longer, and even for those to be kind of your first production, I doubt that. But talk to me about how you first kind of fell into this world of music, and did you grow up in a musical household? Are your parents into all this funky 80s slap bass shit, or is it something you found on your own?
No, I don't think that they are. All right, I'll try to blast through my early life portion of my Wikipedia.
Real quick, sum it up.
As fast as possible. Okay, so
Starting a
I'm
timer.
from '89, the fall of the Soviet Union. In that climate, I'm born. While I'm a baby, my dad is watching Pink Floyd do The Wall live in Berlin
Wow.
in 1989 as the Berlin Wall comes down.
Are they
So
like
that's kind of
in
like-
Berlin? Are you from
No,
that
just
area?
on TV. I'm from
Okay.
I'm from rural Ontario.
Okay.
So this is the sort of like, my dad is a big music fan. He plays guitar. He's played in some bands, but like just kind of like local. He played in a band that I still, just yesterday, I brought it the name of because I think it was such a great name for a band. It was Mock Chicken.
Ooh, I do like that name. Mock Chicken. Yeah.
It just has a ring to
Anyway,
it.
and now it's like, real. There's all sorts of faux chickens everywhere, but maybe a, profit, maybe. Anyway, continue.
So he plays guitar. He still plays guitar. He's always sending me questions about scales and stuff now because I've like gone off and done the whole music thing professionally. But I mean, yeah, my parents weren't terribly music, but definitely growing up, like my dad played guitar and he's got lots of books around the house, like Beatles, those piano, vocal guitar books,
Mm-hmm.
And so those were always kind of sitting around. And I've always been massively obsessed with music. Like as a 4 and 5-year-old child, I would be like in the car, like, listen to this part of the song. This is the cool part. This is how it does this thing. I'm told stories like that by my parents.
That's awesome.
And they were just like, it's an unusual thing. So they put me in piano lessons when I was like 4, but I quit because I thought karate was cooler. And then in high school, I got into the Beatles and started just teaching myself stuff. And I got lessons from a guy called Michael Liebson, who lives out just in rural Ontario. And I would drive like an hour across villages to go get piano lessons or theory lessons every week.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
Ontario,
rural?
like, out in the
How rural is this rural? I can barely say the word rural, but how rural is your rural upbringing?
So until I was 18, like
Oh no.
I came straight to Toronto. It was a village called Merrickville, and there's like 1,000 people population.
Wow.
So very small,
Yeah.
very small. Yeah.
Did you ever
So, like-
get into what was Merrickville? Were you cool in Merrickville, or were you like even still the odd kid out in this like 1,000 people town?
It's hard to say. I'm enjoying how this is like immediately veering into therapy.
I'm sorry.
So as a child, were you cool in the scope of Merrickville? So I don't know. Like if you were to look at Merrickville and be like, what are the cool kids doing? Like I feel like right now the cool kids that when I was in like grade 4 or whatever, the cool kids now are like with the trucker hats and they've got trucks, and some of them have joined the military and they've like taken on family businesses and stuff. So I don't know. I never specifically fit. Oh, are we frozen?
No, I'm
doing
good. I don't understand why this is.
Are we frozen?
I see
Oh,
you.
can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can see you. I'm sorry that my
Oh, okay.
connection's being weird today.
Well, what's going on here? Okay, cool. So, I don't know. Cool. What's cool?
It's
But,
true. Cool is for
yeah.
cool is for losers anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, whatever the childhood experience of trying to be cool or not cool or whatever is completely faded from memory until I start taking therapy in earnest. But yeah, I was
Not
always
this.
just massively obsessed with music. Even like when I was taking karate and not actively learning music stuff, I was just sort of obsessed with listening to it. And so I pursued theory lessons and piano lessons. I used to skip a day of school once a week to take the train from Rockville, Ontario, which is it's like a medium-sized city. I think it's like 35,000 or 50,000 people or something. I would take the train instead of going to school to Ottawa, which is like an hour and a half trip one way, to take piano lessons there all through high school. Yeah.
That's crazy.
At great expense to my parents, who were kind enough to support this ridiculous life that I've got. And then the week after I finished high school, moved to Toronto and spent a year working retail here, and then went straight into a jazz piano degree.
Amazing. And then your parents were like, okay, I hope this leads to something. No, I'm just kidding. It sounds like they were incredibly supportive. And Francis Sunphoto is right. I should change the name of the show from Cat Calls to Cat Therapy Thursdays. But thank you. I won't charge you for this time. It's totally free.
Thank you.
I'm not shocked, though, to hear that you studied jazz piano because you have a really thoughtful and technically aware approach to music. And with the Learnin' Stuff with Push series that you have, it's like, I don't know, it's just so thoughtful. Like, you obviously really know what you're talking about when you're composing and talking about music. And I don't feel like you hear people talk about music that way too often. Maybe that's because I'm stuck in this like EDM bubble where people are just like, kick bass, put a snare over there. But when did you like cross over from jazz into this kind of pop electronic world? Were you always interested in pop and electronic music, and then you just kind of applied what you learned as a jazz pianist, or where did the blend happen?
So basically the way that it happened is like back in the day, back in Merrickville, I was like, when I was 12, I was like listening to the Marshall Mathers LP like on repeat all the time because it was the thing at the time.
It's also a great album.
And I still listen to it.
Yeah.
It's so great.
It's
and you
great.
sent me the documentary about it on YouTube, and it's like,
I know.
It's fascinating, and the album is tremendous.
I know.
I wish that the Slim Shady character was still around, but
True.
whatever.
I mean, speaking of therapy, I'm sure that he can't survive, and he'd have a tough time in the climate of 2021 with all this women's rights stuff. But I agree. I'm a big fan of the Marshall Mathers LP myself.
Yeah. If he could find a way to update it and turn it into maybe like a socialist folk hero or something,
that would be
that
great.
Would be a lot of fun.
Totally. Yeah. He could just rail against commercialism. He did that a lot.
I think that the thing I've seen in interviews that the thing he thinks he's missing, and I'll go back to my career after this, but I've seen in interviews the thing he thinks he's missing is like raw anger.
Yeah.
And so he's always trying to chase some kind of like genuine anger. But I feel like the thing he's actually missing is just like a sense of humor about stuff. Remember his promo photos with like the Jason mask and chainsaw?
Yes, that's so true. I think you're right about that. Because the thing that's like Rap God is an incredible song and all these things, but even that's now like 10 years old. But
good Lord.
But like, yeah, it used to be very funny. And even when he is angry now, it's like, you're angry, but it used to be so tongue-in-cheek and like, ha-ha, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah. Yeah, he used to like, compare himself to Eric Cartman and stuff. Like, it was just a stupid mess of just like, he was like a clown or something.
So good.
I don't know.
Love the 90s.
Anyway, so the thing about someone's career when they take a trajectory that you don't like is that everything they left on the table, you can just steal.
Yes.
So I'm trying to inject like just a sort of off the cuff sense of humor into the stuff that I make now.
I love it. I'm so here for it. I think it's great. And I think that it really has brought you something that is very unique and I'm not hearing in other people's songs. I mean, I guess, I don't know if you've seen it. Kashmir tweeted that he can't imagine an artist taking you on a journey like he's about to with his debut album. But I would say, have you heard Stay-At-Home Popstar? Because the journey is through our own sick, sad world. And that's the mirror we all need to face right now.
I appreciate your Daria reference.
Yes, I know. I noticed you wearing a Sick Sad World t-shirt in the intro clip I stole. So you start making fun video game nostalgia littered tracks in 2014 and 2016. Startup is truly like the best thing I've ever heard in my life, by the way. And all you did was
I'm so
gather
glad someone
sounds.
appreciated it.
Yeah, I the first time I heard it, I was just like, it's the sound of everything
It's
I like. What's happening?
I know everything here.
It's so good. I meant to play that before the intro, but it's fine. I'll link it down below if you're watching on YouTube later. It'll be there.
It's just so hectic. There's just so much going on.
There's so much.
It really is. It's a headphone thing. My live set starts with that.
Still in the future, whenever live shows happen again.
I mean, last time I did it, I used it. I think it's a great intro because, like, it's kind of polarizing because some people are like, what is this noise? And some people are like, what is happening to my mind?
That's me. I'm in that camp.
So, okay. So I'm going to run you through the last of my early life story.
I can't wait.
So I'm obsessively listening to stuff like Eminem, and then I do a 180 and start obsessively listening to stuff like the Beatles. So I'm just sort of obsessed, and I'm playing piano all the time. And I think what I'll do is I'll go get a degree in it. And the only way to get a degree in music then, which was 2000, I finished high school in 2007. There was a James Bond theme, 007.
Nice. That was my favorite
Right?
year of all
So
time,
cute.
by the way. But congratulations.
2007?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If I could go back,
What happened in
people are-
2007?
I saw Daft Punk live, which was a pretty big deal for me.
Yeah.
But then also, like, all the Bloghouse stuff was happening. We weren't calling it Bloghouse yet, but and I was actually in my first year of college, which was also just like really like, wow, I'm free, mom, or like whatever. And I was like doing a lot of Adderall and listening to a lot of Justice. So I think fondly about those days.
So I was on a completely different trajectory because I was like, I want to do music. I'm not precisely sure how, but I was listening to all kinds of stuff. Beatles, Eminem factored largely into what I was listening to. Because I lived in the country, it was a ton of classic rock. So like, you know, the Pink Floyd stuff, but then all the like sort of like lesser, sort of mediocre, but still good classic rock stuff that floats around classic rock stations. That was very much what I was listening to all the time then. But if you want to pursue a degree in music, which kind of seemed like the next logical step back in the day before we realized that institutional education was a big financial scam, the only way to do it was classical or jazz, and then composition or performance. And so I kind of felt like what I wanted to pursue was the ability to quickly make things up and just like access my own creative potential. And so I chose jazz performance as a thing to pursue. And so all of high school I was doing like all day, every day. Like I missed like 2/3 of my classes and still graduated because it's the way that they use that is it was a whole scam. If you miss classes, they can flunk you. But if your grades are good, then they kind of just like look the other way on it. So
Oh, wow.
I had good grades. I was good at school. I'm like a rule following. Yeah, I'm a good boy.
You look like a good boy.
Thank you. So they graduated me, fortunately, and I came to Toronto and I worked retail for a year, which was a lesson in never wanting a job again.
Oh, yeah. What retail were you working?
I worked at Hudson's Bay Company. It's just like a big box store in Canada. I don't know if it's in the States.
I don't think so, but I spent about 9 months working at a Forever 21 in the mall, so I can relate.
Yeah, same deal. I worked housewares and I would like go home at night and 2.5 Men would be on or whatever. And I'd be like, I know that blender. It's not a good blender.
Incredible.
And so that sucked. It was fun. Like, you know, it's like any job. The people you work with are the only thing that's really good about it. And then you get paid too little money, but you have a little bit of money and it's something to do. So I came out of that being like, never going to have a job again. And so
Wait,
while I was going through...
You quit that job, but you hadn't... It's not like you were like, oh, I am making enough music right now that I can quit my job and never have to do that again.
No.
You were just like, fuck this shit, I'm out. And I'll figure it out.
It was like I was getting like student loans. And so those were like helping with money while I was going through school. So I would work just in the summers during university.
I see.
And then what I started doing after I quit my job for money was I started picking up piano students just on like Craigslist and then by word of mouth. And I would just like travel like hours all around the city a couple nights a week and teach like little kids to play scales and stuff. And so I did that for like 7 years, taught piano lessons. That was my job. And so that lasted from 2009 probably until 20, what year is it now? 2021. It's been about 5 years. So maybe 2016, I think, was about the time I stopped teaching piano.
Wow. And that's because you were
then,
making money with music. Ding,
yeah.
ding, ding.
At that point, I was kind of like getting a little bit tired with teaching piano lessons and just like, I need a new thing. It's been 7 years I've been doing this. And the money was starting to be like, I can kind of survive off of like royalties from Clear and stuff. I think Clear came out in 2016. So it was about that, like, there's a little bit of money coming in. There's some YouTube royalties and stuff. And at the same time, I was tired of teaching. So I was like,
that's amazing.
I'm done teaching.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
And I've been coasting since then somehow.
And you've been yeah. Well,
you
put in so much work though. Like, I think it was 2019 that you started doing Jamuary.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That was, I think, maybe around the time that I actually started to like get to know you on a personal level. And now it makes even more sense because at the time I was like, I can't believe this crazy motherfucker is going to make a song and like a video to go with it every day of January. But you went to school to do that, to like be a jazz performer. I mean, it kind of is jazz performance, but you're whipping it into a song. Does that feel similar to you, brain wise?
I was like, so to do the jazz performance thing, like coming from listening to Eminem and the Beatles and classic rock and stuff to like a jazz program where it's like Charlie Parker and John Coltrane and like Dizzy Gillespie and those people are like their idols, are names I had never heard when I was like, I'm going to do a jazz performance degree.
Oh, wow.
And so I spent all of high school just like trying to drill enough jazz to like get in. And when I got in, I was like, hell yes, next step accomplished. But I really knew very little about that. Like, I actively remember having a piano lesson and being like, a jazz piano, like that's totally what I'm going to do. And the teacher was like, okay, well, just like get some John Coltrane. Here's a John Coltrane CD or something. And I was like, who's John Coltrane? He was like, are you sure you want to do jazz piano? And then I went home and I went on LimeWire, as was the style at the time.
LimeWire.
And I just typed in jazz and downloaded everything.
Oh my God. Wait, but was one of those things Soulja Boy? Because
I don't remember Soulja Boy specifically, but I do remember a lot of very like Kenny G style shit.
Oh,
like,
nice.
There was some like Sting music in there that was like crossover Sting jazz.
Oh yeah, Sting got really jazzy during his later years. He had the tantric years.
The whole phase there. So I was like trying to immerse myself in jazz, and I did a pretty good job of it. I really got into people like Michel Camilo, who is a fantastic, like, I think he's Dominican, but just like Latin jazz piano player, just mind-blowing stuff. And Brad Meldau was another favorite of mine, like a great modern jazz piano player.
Cool, I have to check these out.
I would listen to his. Yeah, I'll send you some links.
Please do.
Some of the stuff is like, if you listen to it in headphones, there's just so much stuff. Like there's 3 people playing because it's like piano trio stuff. So it's a piano, bass, and drums. But it's like, wow, there's a lot of really wonderful musicality in there. It's more of like a dedicated listen because it's jazz, so they get deep and nerdy and stuff. But I got really into jazz for a while, and I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to New York and be a jazz piano player, and I'm going to starve, and it's going to be so idyllic.
Oh, God.
And then... after a while, I was like, wait, why do I want this? Because I would have been 21 or something.
I know. When you're
like,
21,
this could be a life for me.
You love the idea of being a starving artist, and then you actually are poor for a while, and you're like, there's nothing really good about that. I don't know why I look up to that It's a lifestyle choice. No one chooses that.
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah. Yeah, it's romanticized, and there's just so much to unpack there that I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, not on this Therapy Thursday. That's for another time.
No, we're not idealizing poverty with creatives on this,
No.
not this Therapy Thursday.
So how did you get into...
So I did a thing that I...
Yeah. Oh, well, how did you get into like this pop electronic world? Yeah.
Yeah, so what was happening is I convinced myself, and I've noticed this as a theme, I convinced myself fully to do the jazz thing. And then after a while, I kind of like shook myself awake, like, wait a second, you've been listening to jazz for like 3 years. What are you doing? And I took a film scoring class at the Humber College, which is the school I went to. And that was like, we're using Logic Pro and we're going to score films. And so I started producing with that. And I realized that what I really do like about even playing piano is the tinkering aspect of it. And I don't really love so much the idea of like dragging a keyboard across town to go perform at some place where there's going to be 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
And so shift in priorities. And I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit fully and entirely to a life of film scoring. And after a couple of years of trying to do that, and I like went full bore with it. Like I went to the film schools and put up like posted things, and I'd scored not TV ads, but like YouTube pre-roll ads. There was a guy I met on Craigslist who was like making little things and he needed music for them. So I did a little bit of that and some student films and stuff. And after a while I was like, I like making music. I don't really like dealing with a director who doesn't really speak music trying to tell me what kind of music to make. And I think that I would have more success if I just pursued my own music and put it on SoundCloud and find my own success. And then maybe I can score some stuff because of reputation later on. And so I just started doing the SoundCloud thing. So I graduated in 2012, and that was about the time I was like, film scoring. And then by 2014, I was fully like, no, I'm going to make electronic music and put it on SoundCloud. And that's where we jump in with the Pusher stuff.
Wow. Where does the name Pusher come from? I know that's usually such a terrible question, and I don't like to ask it, but it is interesting. It always makes me think of like Pusher T, and like Pusher has such a connotation. But but I don't think that's
Yes.
what you mean. Pusher Man is a great song, but where did this come from?
Push It also. What I want to do is next time there are live shows is the music that plays before my show, like the in-between music, is just going to be exclusively stuff with some association to the word push.
Love. Please do Kick Push, Lupe Fiasco. You could throw that one in there.
Perfect. I'm going to be consulting you on this playlist.
So down.
Wait, what was the question?
I mean, I'm just wondering where Pusher
did
came
Pusher come
from. It's like the worst question to ask anyone, but I'm asking it.
So I'm going to tell you the truth, even though from every interview that I do from this point forward, I'm going to give a different answer.
Okay.
Just
Great.
for my own amusement. So the first electronic music I made, I learned the curse of a stupid name. Because I was like casting around for a name, like, what do I call this project? And I settled on, I hate it, Razudox, which was taken from, it's one of the made up words from A Clockwork Orange.
Oh.
And I spelled it differently. I put a Z and an X in it so it would look more like cool in 2013 era. And the first person who tried to say it said it wrong, and I realized that British people were going to say it the way that I wanted, and American and Canadian people were not going to. And I was like, Jesus. So I released music for a couple of years, but then I settled on Pusher because I saw it in an episode of The X-Files, and I was like, that could be a name, because I was actively like, I need a name. And there's a...
Just like the Never-Ending Story all over again.
I haven't seen the Never-Ending Story.
Oh my God, you have to see the Never-Ending Story. There are puppets in that one. There are puppets.
Yeah. I've been meaning to watch it. I always thought, okay, this is really silly. When I was little, a friend of mine had the Never-Ending Story and really liked it. But I'm an atheist, sort of. I'm not as militant about it now as I used to be. But
same.
A friend of mine had this movie and really liked it, but his parents were very like Christian.
So you were just like, well, this must be terrible.
Yeah, I just associated things that I hadn't heard of that he told me about first with Christianity. And I always thought Christianity was like kind of creepy and kind of culty. And so I never touched that movie because I thought it was like Christian propaganda.
Well, I do have to say it is kind of creepy and kind of culty as a movie, but I don't think that it has anything to do with Christianity. And Giorgio Moroder made the soundtrack, so that right there makes it worth your while. You need to check it out.
I've actually been meaning to watch it since I kind of like reassessed my fear of cults.
Yeah, I mean, interesting that you've chose now to do that. Cults are all around us.
Well, it's on Netflix. I keep seeing it on Netflix, and I'm like, why have I not seen this? Like, I should watch this movie.
You should.
There's clearly puppets in it. Like, it's right up my alley.
Exactly. It's kind of creepy. There's an air of apocalypse throughout the whole thing. You're gonna love it. And
that's even more up my alley.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You let me know how much you love that movie when it's done, because you're gonna love it. Okay.
Now I have outside pressure.
Speaking of reevaluating your fear of cults, talk to me about the process that you went through mentally to get to this place where you're like, I'm going to sing on my own songs and I'm going to sing about the things that I see around me every day because no one else is doing it.
Sure. I think that I listen to music very eclectically. And like a lot of the stuff we were talking about yesterday when we did a little sound check, we were talking about Frank Zappa. I always like Frank Zappa stuff because it's like just strange. And I like music that's like a little strange.
Same.
Like I like the Bill Ward stuff. I like Nowhere stuff. Stuff that's like, like left of center, like not totally pop, like it can use aspects of pop. It can be fun and catchy and stuff, but stuff that's like just interesting. And anyway, so I was making a bunch of pop music, as you were saying, the New Laces thing and the Paperman EP thing are pretty pop centric. Like I'm producing and then there's a top liner singing a pop top line on it. And the more I did that, the more I would be in a session and be like, we could write a song about something else. Like we could make it sound like a love song, but it could be about something else. And I was just trying to go in that direction. Especially after Clear, I felt like 15 million streams. Like I've accomplished this. I don't need to do this again. Like I've proven to myself that I can have pop success if I want it. And I don't feel like I want it. Yeah. So I was trying to do something that was a little like less conventional. Like I've had the classic rock phase and I've had the jazz phase, and I learned theory from a 20th century classical guy, and I'm making electronic music. And so I'm kind of like looking around and I'm like, all of this could be combined into something much more than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But when people are top lining, I feel like the top lining producer community is one that is like people who have not quite yet figured out how they're going to achieve their thing, right? Like producers come out of that and go like, maybe they'll continue to have top liners, but they'll probably have something that's like based on their production. Like it's very their aesthetic. And then singers go off and have their own career with the songs all being something along the lines of their aesthetic. And so everyone's kind of writing this middle of the road thing that works for everybody. Yeah. That like you can take a tangent to anywhere. And I found it very difficult to convince people who hadn't quite figured out what they really wanted to be saying to say things that were like a little more intense or a little different, very unconventional, maybe out of fear of being typecast or something. I don't know what it is specifically, but I just wanted to do songs about other stuff, and no one was willing to go there really. And so I was just like, I can sing well enough and I can produce well enough that they can meet it in the middle, and it'll sound, I can find a way to make my voice sound good enough. And it was kind of out of necessity. I was just like, I want to do songs that are like cool and weird and a little different, and no one wants to do that, so I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah. Okay, I want to take this moment to play that quick clip of your next single, I Can't Believe It. And it's so quick and it's so fast, and I did actually pair it with a visual, and I know I set it up properly, so this time it's going to work. So hold on, check it out.
This is like a world premiere.
World premiere! I won't fuck it up, I promise.
I can't believe you bought a house at my age. I can't believe it, I can't believe it. It's so much harder than day. I can't believe it, I can't believe it.
Yeah, I love that one. And people can't hear the like part that comes in the beginning, but it's so good. This one is very Princey.
That's the next single.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
this is the one that I feel like is probably the Princiest.
Yeah. But I think I wanted to take a moment to play that section because the words here, it's exactly like you said. It's like, I can't believe you bought a house at my age. Like, crazy. It's so much hotter this year than it was last year today. Like, I mean, and it does have a total pop feel. Like, I could hear the songs on this album playing on the radio, but you don't hear songs on the radio about climate change. Like, the fact that we should probably give up as a species because we ruined it all. Was it, like, cathartic to you to write these songs, or were you just laughing your ass off the whole time? Like, did you ever have a moment while writing these that you were like
It's definitely both. Yeah, it's definitely just me leaning into like, I'm gonna write songs that are different. Let's see how that turns out. Yeah. And like, if you look at like a random sampling of the last 3 Januaries, like, I've mostly finished the album before January 2021. The album is mostly done at that point. And you can see in January 2021, I'm like, here's what we're doing now. Like, this is it's going to be very, very ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm just kind of leaning into like, there's an idea. Let's make it into a song real quick. Like, no matter how stupid it is. Yeah.
I love it.
It's been very fun.
Yeah, and I don't think it is stupid. I think that, like, it's actually brave to just be honest about this stuff that people don't talk about enough. And I mean, and it's different from being brave in the sense of, like, singing a song about, like, injustice in the world or things that, you know, people do take grand stands about, but, like, I don't know. Fuck, man. Like, there's a lot of ennui happening. And, like, we've all been stuck inside our houses for a year. Like, this is a weird time to be alive. And it does feel like the end. But we have to work and pay our bills at the same time. And it's like, yeah, someone write me a pop song about that awkward feeling of like having to log in to yet another Zoom meeting because like I have to pay for this internet and feed myself, but like, what's the point?
Yeah, it's like if you watch an episode of Captain Planet, like now, it's very much like, oh boy, how are they going to save themselves from this global environmental catastrophe? And you're like, please tell me.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I know, a superhero.
Yeah.
That doesn't help me.
I know, exactly. Well, listen, you ever want to grow some superpowers? I'm ready for Captain Pusher to save the day. I guess funky synth lines aren't going to do it, but what were you going to say?
Yeah, I've got one tattoo and I just got it in November and it's of Captain Planet's melting face.
Oh, because it is. No.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Jamuary. Well, what were you going to say?
Okay. I was just going to say I want the album to be sort of like a meme about climate change, you know? Because, like, no matter what horrible thing happens in the world, like, it's trending and there are memes about it.
Yeah, I know. But, and without, like, totally giving stuff away, I know that there's also really beautiful, like, I don't know if this is the end of the album, but what I've heard, where it kind of gets soft and slow and pretty, and like it honestly kind of makes me fucking cry because it's like beautiful, but then I'm also like internalizing the reality of it, and I'm just like, it's like musically emotional, and then also it's like, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. But all of that will make sense to anyone watching this when the album's out.
Yes, in like 8 months, this is going to make a lot more sense.
Can't wait. I'm going to reshare the video.
Ends.
I know, it's so good. Honestly excited. Yeah, let's talk about Jamuary. You started
Yeah.
it in 2019. It's been the most exciting part of January ever since for me. I'm just like, what's Pusher gonna do today? And does it take you all day to make these songs? I feel like, especially as you've advanced in your video production, like I assume it's taking you all day to just put this together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It pretty much destroys the rest of my life for a month.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's worth it, I hope.
Oh yeah, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, going into every January, I'm like, wow, like I've progressed so much in the last year. This year is going to be so much easier. I'm just going to take it easy. I'll do stuff like I did last year, but it's going to take me a fraction of the time. And then I spend the same amount of time like making something way more elaborate. So yeah, every year I'm like, here are the other things I'm going to accomplish in January. And then February 1st, I'm like, here are the things I was supposed to do in January that I need to do right now.
Oh man, whatever. What's like the biggest thing that you would say as an artist you've taken away from just having a commitment like that? It's an experiment of sorts, but it has to be a moment of growth for you every time.
Yeah, every single time I do it, I come away from it like with a little more clarity, because the whole time I'm doing it, I'm like not thinking, like there's no time to think. It's just action and sleep. Like that's all I get to do. And then afterwards, I'm like, okay, there's like a lot of stuff here that's just like floating around now. I think that the most important thing that I take away from it is just like creativity, just like practicing creativity. Like, especially as a producer-minded person, like using the DAW and like coming up with the sound design and stuff, the focus is on the technical stuff. And I've seen like a lot of people on Reddit and threads being like, oh, like when I was starting out, I feel like the stuff I was making was more creative and I'm like better at producing now, but my stuff is less creative. And I think that it's because we tend to focus on the technical aspects of making music and not the, like, as much as you practice technical stuff, you have to practice creative stuff. And I think that that's what I've been doing with Jamuary more so. Yeah. Is like every year is kind of like a different thing that I'm focusing on. Like you can see the first year, there's a lot of like time signature stuff and just like trying to make these weird and interesting, like, and I wasn't singing. I think I sang on 2 of them maybe. And those were the first 2 things I ever sang on and put out.
Wow. And
then like 2 months later, I made the 2 demos that we've heard, like the 2 songs that we've heard now. So,
oh, wow.
like,
that's amazing.
Very much. Yeah. Like it very much gives you an opportunity, like 31 songs in 31 days. Some people are seeing them, but not a whole hell of a lot of people are seeing them. So I can kind of do whatever. And if I sing on something and get a couple comments, it's like, I'm not dead. Hey, that's cool. So like, I could do this then.
Yeah.
And then the next year was like, I think there were vocals in almost every single one of them. And some of them are a lot more ridiculous. And then this past year is like, as off the wall as I could imagine it being in a day. And so I'm excited for next year.
I know.
Where that's gonna
be. It'll be crazy. And you will have had Stay-At-Home Popstar will have come out. Yeah. And I pray to the vaccine gods that we can have a show for this album. I've never seen you live, so I would really appreciate, as a fucking day one Pusher fan, to see Pusher. And I've outed myself as like your biggest fan.
That's exciting.
Yeah. What is a Pusher show like though? What have I been missing out on all this time? And if you could, you know, don't even worry about the weird hell world that we live in. If you could put the show together that you really envision for this album, what would that be like? What will it be like?
I've been thinking about that more and more. So like I've done at this point kind of a bunch of shows as a DJ, and I've done a select number of shows like as a live set thing.
Yeah.
And the live set thing was like a drum pad, a keyboard, a button pad, and just a mic for talkback. And then I would have guests, like in every city I went to, I would hire a sax player to come do the solos.
Oh, cool.
And like if there was a feature singer around, I would have them come and do their songs. Because like the cities I did were like Toronto and New York and LA. Like, so a lot of the singers that I know are from those places or around. So the next one, I've been thinking about how to make it like as entertaining as possible. it's going to depend on budget, really. Like if the album somehow gets, a 10 on Pitchfork and, a 10 from Fantano or whatever the hell,
Yeah.
and it just like makes me a ton of money, then I'm going to go and hire tremendous musicians and I'm going to rehearse them. And it's going to be like, I'll probably steal some stuff from Frank Zappa. Like he would do this thing where they would rehearse the songs. But like if he pulls up on his pants and it mimics a cowboy thing, like they're going to drop into a country version of the song.
Whoa,
Or like
that's
if
so
he goes
cool.
like this, they just play like sort of an ambient, twinkly, like all over the place kind of, and just sort of take a band of really good musicians and like push them. I think would be really fun. On less budget, it'll probably just be me and maybe one other like multi-instrumentalist type person. It all depends on budget. If it's just me, what I'm going to do is pour money into like, I believe that, I think that, in Canada we get grant money. I've got a little bit of a grant that I can put towards live show production.
That's
and so
cool.
I would get like some really fun visuals. And then I would get maybe some lights or something. Like I've already got a set of lights, but maybe I'll get more lights. So the live set was very much like song starts. And then for an hour, it's like constantly playing. Like there's some vamp or something and it's all entertaining, and I have points where I talk, and there's, all the hits.
All the hits that you would expect. That's cool.
I would love to do something with more story. I've been thinking about that lately. Just like I listened to 3 Frank Zappa, like longer pieces in an album today, and they were all like the story-based stuff. Or like, The Wall is another really great example that I know that you're aware of. Something like that where it like ties together and then the visuals can have some kind of story. Like when Roger Waters goes around now and he like performs all of Dark Side of the Moon or all of The Wall. I would love to do something that like has aspects of that, like a story that runs through the whole show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm not thinking about that
yet. No, one thing at a time. But I can see it for you. I can absolutely see that vision coming to life one day. I mean, I know that we're in a strange scenario where it's really hard to plan anything like that. But I think that one day live music will return. And at least as far as you writing something conceptual narratively, like I feel like this album is really close. This is a concept album. But was it called Stay-At-Home Popstar before quarantine, or was that a post-quarantine album title?
No, this is incredibly frustrating. The first thing I had before even the first song demo was the title of the album.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
So that would have been, early 2019. I was like, my next album is going to be called Stay-At-Home Popstar. And
you
I don't
did
know
this
exactly
to
what
us.
the songs are going to be.
You caused quarantine.
It gets a little worse than that, actually.
What?
So taking a page from Eminem's early albums, I wanted to have, and like any hip hop album really, I wanted to have some skits.
Oh, please. I love skits so much. If you ever need someone's voice for a skit, it would be a dream come true to participate.
I do need people's voices, and you will be on this
Yes!
album.
Okay.
So one of the skits, I was spending a lot of time, I watched Don Hertzfeldt movies, like his short animated films, and there's one called World of Tomorrow that's like, the world is about to end and this character contacts like her child's self back in time to like retrieve a memory to bring her comfort before the world ends.
Jesus, what a film.
It's the best movie I've ever seen.
Wow. Now I'll have something. I'll watch that one. You watch Never Ending Story is longer, but I'll watch that one.
I'm going to go watch a 5-hour movie and you can watch a 13-minute short film.
Fair.
That's fair. It's phenomenal though, but it's like very sci-fi, but in a way that's very human, and I loved it. So I was thinking a lot about, future stuff, and I was on the subreddit for futurology, but I was also spending a lot of time on the subreddit for collapse.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, all these ideas of like what's going to happen in the next 20, 30 years were floating around in my head. And I'd spent all 2017 working with Google's Magenta, which is an artificial intelligence for making music. And I wanted to make a concept album about what happens when AI gets better at making music than people. And then I had to make Paperman instead because I was, I needed to live. Very practical concerns.
Fair.
So that's temporarily shelved, but it's been teased, like in the video, there's an Easter egg for that project. So
In the video for the lyric video for I Could Give It Up?
Yeah. And the one you played at the start.
Okay.
So things are starting to tie together in like a Pixar Quentin Tarantino way, I think.
Love it.
But
it's the Pusher universe.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, skit.
Yes.
So the skit that I made was called Future News, and it was just like sort of flipping channels really quick between different like news things and like headlines and stuff. And I made that in early 2019.
Oh,
and
no.
I think all of them have pretty much come true.
So
Like,
wait, can you even use them on your album anymore? It's like,
No,
fuck.
it's very depressing now because I'm just saying the things that are happening to
What's
us.
a couple examples?
So I predicted a global pandemic called El Paso virus.
Oh my God.
Well, it comes from a prediction that had been floating around collapse and futurology subreddits that was, as climate change worsens, there are going to be climate refugees, people who move countries to get away from worsening environmental conditions.
Yeah.
And just like in the States, they're going to be put in migrant camps because the rising climate and the tension is going to play right into the hands of those right-wing fucks that try to like blame it on immigrants. And so they set up camps, and in those camps, the conditions aren't good. This was before all of this was happening. Like even the kids in cages thing, it was before that. Before that was a major headline. It's very distressing.
Well, I don't know what would have been better.
I do in part feel guilty.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, maybe your powers of manifestation are just that strong. Like, I mean, you did convince yourself to go to jazz piano school and become a musician full time. So perhaps you do have something to do with this. I don't know. So
I'm going to rewrite it, but I'm going to make it very positive this time.
Oh, there you go. Positive affirmation.
It's just going to be a sketch that's like, oh boy, 2026, look at all this money I've got. And Bernie Sanders is president because everyone above him is dead.
Oh man, well, I'm glad that you're a Bernie fan from across the border. Much appreciated. All your support.
I mean, it's just, we're all on the same little rock. Like,
it's true.
At night, I can see New York State across the lake, so.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, Toronto's fun.
Have you been to Toronto?
I have once, couple times.
What time of year were you here?
I was there in the winter for like a 24-hour stint one time. And then I was there for
horrible.
like 24 hours in the summer. When did I really
Which was probably lovely.
Yeah, it was. I've never spent enough time in Toronto to be like, I get it. I've only been like very quickly in and out, but I would love to spend more time. And one of my roommates actually lived there for a couple of years, and she swears it's her favorite city that she's ever been to. She's just like, it's great. Yeah.
It's a lovely city. It's kind of like any American city, but like, just feels a little safer.
Yeah. I feel that. Maybe because everyone doesn't have a gun. And Drake's there somewhere.
Yeah, there aren't really guns around. Like, there's a shooting every so often, but it's not like, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. On that happy note, as we come to the hour mark here, is there anything else that you would just like to share with the internet, with me, with the world, with folks? Final parting thoughts, things you're working on, promises, manifestations.
I promise that I will make some positive predictions for this planet on the next project.
We love to see it.
Yeah, so I'm working on a few other things. Like I've got tutorial stuff on YouTube that's like, I'm sort of chipping away at that all the time, whether it's genuine or whether it's commie music. Like,
yeah, exactly. Comrade Push is the best.
Yeah, I feel like you had mentioned earlier that not a lot of people talk about music the way that I try to talk about music in those videos. And I think that's just a music literacy thing. Like I taught piano for years and years. And it's very difficult for people to put music into plain language because we think of it as this abstract thing, but it's really not. Like if a song needs to be happier, like there are things you can do to make it happier, and there's like very specific techniques, or sadder, or louder, or any dimension you can imagine of music is informed by very specific things. And so anytime I notice something like, oh, that's cool on the wall, how that bum, 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 bum melody like recurs through the entire thing in different voices in different ways, I'll draw attention to that, and people can draw whatever conclusion they want from that.
Yeah.
And I'll attempt to draw some as well. Anyway, educational videos that attempt to improve music literacy in the way that I think Bill Nye tried to improve scientific literacy.
Yeah, totally. I get that same sort of like friendly vibe. Yeah, learning stuff with Push is so great. I will link to it below, or just look it up. It's so good.
Yeah. So there's that. I'm working on a video game called Echo Generation for Xbox.
I meant to bring up Echo Generation, but we've just rambled, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Soundtrack is great.
Be out sometime. It's going to be out sometime this year. There's a lot of music in it. All the tracks are short looping things, but there's like, I think at this point, more than 60 of them.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff. I've been working on it for the last year, and it's going to be great. I'm finishing it up now. I got to play a demo of the game in December. Before that, I had not seen anything but a few screenshots and production stills and stuff. And the game is going to be so good.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect from it. But it's going to be really good, I think.
Yeah,
it's
looks
going to be
great.
Way more than the sum of the parts. Yeah. And one of the influences is the Goonies, so.
You have to watch it. It's your time.
I know I do.
It's your time right here. That'll make sense.
I just got through Tremors.
I mean, did you watch everything in the Tremors? There's like a lot of them.
Are there a lot of them? No, I saw the first one.
Okay, it's fine. I think you're fine there.
Was it Tremors? There's another one that's just like Tremors about underground worms or something.
Dune?
I think it was Tremors. No, I can't get through Dune. Honestly, it's so long. I get like halfway through Dune, and I'm like, I'm gonna skim the rest of it. It's too much.
Heard it here first.
Yeah. Album, video game, tutorial stuff. I'm just constantly making stuff.
You're a fucking content machine. You can't give it up. Because you live inside the content machine. Like it's. Have you ever tried a social media diet though?
You mean just having less of it?
Yeah.
I've taken occasional measures, like I did that one trend where you like make your screen grayscale, so it's like less triggering to your brain or whatever.
Interesting.
And then I just went back to color. I did one where I just like got a separate outlet thing for the phones and charged them in a different room than the bedroom.
Yeah.
They're back in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Like,
that never lasts.
Kind of a losing battle.
Totally. Yeah. Listen.
I just spent more money.
Yeah, they tricked you again into buying more crap that you didn't need. Those fucking guys. All right.
I think that's kind of the state of our age, is just oscillation between extremes at all times. You're like always one extreme, and it's always changing.
I know.
So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, lots of stuff, lots of music stuff. It's always a good time.
Yeah. Well, Pusher, it was so great having you on Cat Calls and getting this chance to rap back and forth with you. I'd love to have you again when the album comes out. I'm sure many things will happen between then and now. And when does I Can't Believe It come out?
That comes out, when is it now? March? That comes out in the middle of April, I think. We're doing between 6 and 8 weeks between each single.
Nice.
Just time for videos, and you got to submit them to DSPs early and promo stuff. Just gives me basically an opportunity to make a bunch of stuff in between.
Love it.
So, yeah. That's going to be 6 to 8 weeks, I think, between each song. And then in between, there's also going to be just loads of random stuff where I'm making goofy nonsense.
I know. Follow It's Pusher at It's Pusher, Twitter, Instagram, all over the place. And thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
It was so nice to finally talk to you.
I know. It was great. Big fan of all your work. Keep it up. Awesome job. Great stuff. I love learning with stuff. I love Echo Generation. All of it. You just go. You watch those movies, though.
Never-Ending Story and Goonies.
Goonies. Some 80s classics. All right, Pusher.
I'll send you a link to Don Hertzfeldt.
Please do. Bye.